Hey guys, I just wanted to show you how to put how I put my Aurora gimbals in my Turnigy 9X knockoff here. When I first got the 9X, I put in the Smarty Pants board, I put in the ER9X firmware, and it's a great system. I absolutely love how it works. The problem I had was the right gimbal, the original gimbal on this, one of the pots wasn't. It was pretty buggered up, so basically what would happen is the actual center would keep veering, or the right edge limit, so it was pretty much unfortunately useless for flying. I had to actually jimmy the side inside with some hot glue and some pieces of plastic, and that's actually well known on the boards for the 9X as having possibly a bad gimbal. But to be honest, I wasn't happy with the gimbals, so I ordered a pair of Aurora gimbals from the robotshop. These are about 22 bucks each, so by the time you get it in your hands, I think there's about 50 bucks or so. But these don't actually fit directly, they're not drop-in replacements, so this is actually already in, but I'll show you what I did. On the Aurora gimbals themselves, they have a couple extra plastic pieces on the bottom and the top that are basically screw holders. Okay, and I actually just took them off, shaved them off directly with a Dremel. After that, they almost pop in just fine, but what you have to do is you have to take a Dremel and just basically sand off the top and the bottom rims a little bit so these can pop in better, and you can just do a little bit at a time until these pop in nicely. Then of course you got to secure them somehow, so instead of making myself a custom plate or anything, what I did was I actually found a couple of the existing remaining holes for the gimbals, took a drill, popped through it, and I actually just did 2 spots per, so that my hole would come out the front, and then I put a couple of little number 4 screws. It's obviously there are much nicer ways of doing it, but that's the way I did it, and it's just fine. I'll probably just back it up with a little bit of glue, but it's nice and secure now, so I don't have to worry about it. As far as the wiring goes, the Aurora gimbals come with the 2 pots going into a single 6-pin connector, which is obviously not a drop-in compatible with the 9X. The original gimbals on the 9X have basically 2 separate connectors, 2 3-pins, one for each axis on the gimbal. So what I did, and they actually connect just below the trim board here. So what I ended up doing is on the bottom side, and I actually couldn't even remove the connectors. They were glued on so well I just couldn't get them off. So I snipped the wires off at the base and that's it. I took note of where the electrical placement is. So instead of going into those, what I did was there are actually, let me just zoom in here. So on the right side here, you've got basically 6 solder points. Okay. Now, in terms of columns, you've got column from the right edge, column 1, then the middle column, and then the left column. Okay. The outermost column is actually the ground, or what would be the black wires off the original gimbals. The middle column is positive, and the innermost column is actually the pot connectors, or the resistance connectors, and those are separate. So the outermost column is ground, and it is common, so you only have to solder to 1 if you want. The middle one is the positive, again common, and then the inner one here is basically for the pots. Now so the middle pin of each pot is actually the final signal, and that's what you're going to solder to the innermost column here. Now, I thought I had written down correctly which pot goes to which, but after I wired it all up, I discovered no, I got it backwards. So when I'm not turning this on just yet, but when I went in and did my, you go into your calibration of your sticks, and you move them up or down, and you see, okay, is it going up, left, right, down, whatever. This is when you're doing your limits. I found that my throttle was actually now my rudder, and I had this one reversed too. So all I did was I went back in here and swapped the 2 wires here on the innermost column, and everything was fine. The other thing is, if you find that you're doing your adjustment and all of it, you know, if your throttle goes up but your stick goes down, okay, the solution for that is that you hooked up the positive to the ground by accident, like you swapped those two, so you just swap them, okay? But the installation took me a little time, but just mostly because I soldered it up wrong. But it actually works just fine. So I'm going to point this out now, in case you want to know. For the throttle axis, you want the upper one, okay? And for the rudder, you actually want, and I know this is a little hard to see, but you want the lower one. On the other side, your elevator, let's see, that is the blue wire. Elevator is bottom, and the aileron, oh, I'm sorry, the elevator, I'm looking at the wrong wire here. The elevator is top, and the aileron is bottom. So hopefully that helps somebody. If you got any questions and you're doing the same thing, just message me on YouTube, and I will give you some tips if you need it, or maybe I'll upload or send some better diagram of the wiring here. But overall, these gimbals, the Aurora gimbals, are so much nicer than the stock gimbals. And after I recalibrated, I just noticed that the motion is so much better. You know, I feel like I have a reliable gimbal finally. So there you go.